This prominent man left a responsible relationship to seek love in a prostitute. Did he do the right thing? Grab your popcorn and let's dive into this intriguing story. Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today, we'll explore a captivating Nigerian movie that goes beyond entertainment. It's packed with life lessons you can't afford to miss. Let's get started. The movie opens with two friends, Queen and Angela, who are both involved in prostitution. Queen experiences a breach of contract when she is paid less for leaving before the agreed time. Angela advises her to pay off her debt to Sandra, a friend Queen owes money to, in order to avoid further troubles. Later that night, Sandra visits Queen, demanding repayment. When Queen is unable to pay, Sandra takes her wig and bag as collateral. Queen pleads with her, but Sandra walks away. The following evening, Queen and Angela discuss Sandra's behavior in their bedroom. Angela advises Queen to settle the debt to avoid further issues, and they leave it at that. Meanwhile, at a corporate office, Don, a businessman, and his personal assistant, PA, are in a heated discussion about why their company is losing contracts and money. Don is determined to find a solution before his mother finds out. Not long after, his mother calls, requesting to meet him. When she arrives, she offers to make some calls to save the company, but Don refuses, asserting that he is now a man who can take responsibility for his actions. He pleads with his mother to stop pressuring him, promising to sort things out. She reluctantly agrees and leaves. The next day, while Don is working, his girlfriend visits unannounced. She tries to be affectionate, but Don resists, explaining he is busy and will meet her at home later. Elsewhere, Queen and Angela are enjoying some downtime when Sandra shows up, looking for Queen. Angela lies, claiming Queen isn't home and that a customer is in the house. Sandra grows suspicious, but eventually leaves after issuing a stern warning. Back at Don's office, he confides in his colleague Raymond about needing personal space from the women in his life. During their conversation, they receive news that a contract they applied for in Lagos has been approved. Don decides to travel to Lagos immediately, insisting on handling the project independently to prove his capability. That evening, Sandra confronts Queen and Angela at their workplace, blocking their hustle over the unpaid debt. She seizes Queen's phone, but Queen and Angela devise a plan to trick Sandra and retrieve the phone. Later that night, Don's car breaks down near Queen and Angela's location. Queen offers to help fix the car, and Don pays her for her assistance. He also asks for directions to a location and offers her a ride. Once they arrive, Don invites Queen inside and pays her for her help. Impressed by the well-furnished house, Queen gives him her contact information before leaving. Upon returning home, Queen gives Sandra her money and boldly demands that Sandra leave her house. Queen then shares her encounter with Don with Angela, who encourages her to make the most of the opportunity, and suggesting it could lead to better things off. Don is shocked but decides not to dwell on it. Later, Don calls Queen and offers her a job as his escort for 10 days, explaining that he is new to Lagos and needs a guide. Queen agrees, charging $25,000 per day, which excites her as she sees it as a way to leave prostitution and start a business. She shares the news with Angela, expressing hope for a brighter future. The next morning, Don has another call with his mother, firmly asking her to let him handle the company's issues independently. He assures her that he is capable and requests her trust. Later that day, while Don was on a heated call, raising his voice, he noticed Queen dressed in an outfit that was undeniably attractive but inappropriate for their outing. He told her that it wasn't suitable since they weren't headed to a club. To make up for it, he took her out for lunch at a classy restaurant. At the restaurant, Don encountered an old friend, Charles. They exchanged pleasantries, but things took an awkward turn when Charles recognized Queen and mentioned her background, which embarrassed her. Queen tried to remain composed, but Don stepped in to defend her, firmly telling Charles to stop the conversation unless he wanted to start a fight. Don demanded that Charles respect Queen as long as she was with him. After Charles left, Don reassured Queen, making her feel comfortable again. To lift her spirits, he took her to a shopping mall and bought her new clothes for their meeting later that evening. The next day, Queen went to Don's room to ask what she should wear based on what she had. As Don emerged from the restroom, half naked, Queen was momentarily distracted by his impressive physique. Don chose a dress for her, standing close as she took it to change. When she returned, she looked stunning. Dawn complimented her, and they left for his client meeting. From that day on, Queen and Dawn attended multiple client meetings together. They spent quality time together, with Dawn occasionally helping Queen align her dressing. This period was transformative for both of them. Their professional outings gradually deepened their bond. One evening, after returning home, Dawn asked Queen why she had given her number to a client. She explained that the client had asked for it, and she saw no harm in sharing it. Tired, Queen went to her room, leaving Dawn worried. The next day at the office, Dawn's girlfriend showed up unannounced, questioning Raymond about Dawn's whereabouts and scolding him for not keeping her informed. She was worried about Dawn being alone in Lagos, a place she considered dangerous. Raymond assured her that Dawn was capable of taking care of himself. When she pleaded for Dawn's address, Raymond refused, respecting Dawn's decision to maintain his privacy. Later that day, while working from home, Dawn confided in Queen about his fears. She noticed his anxious demeanor and encouraged him to open up. Dawn admitted that he had never handled the company on his own and was afraid of failing. In response, Queen shared a story about her younger sister, who once got hurt when their father told her to open the car radiator. Despite the pain, her father encouraged her to try again after she recovered, and she eventually succeeded. Queen emphasized the lesson: never stop trying, even if you fail. Just learn to be more careful. Dawn found her words motivating, and Queen offered to give him a massage to relieve his stress. As she massaged him, Queen jokingly mentioned how she often gave happy endings to her former clients. However, Dawn made a hurtful comment in response, upsetting Queen. She opened up about the pressures and responsibilities she carried, then walked out angrily. Shortly after, Raymond called Dawn, informing him about his girlfriend's concerns and her request for his address, which he had refused to share. Dawn appreciated Raymond's loyalty, and they ended the call on a positive note. The next morning, Dawn prepared for another meeting but didn't inform Queen, thinking she was still upset with him. He later apologized for his behavior, and though Queen was initially annoyed, she reminded him of their agreement and forgave him. Their conversation ended with a moment of mutual understanding and lingering eye contact before Dawn left for his meeting. Angela visited Queen for a short while, and Queen shared her experience with Dawn, mentioning how he had never asked her for anything inappropriate. Angela could sense that Queen was in love with him, but Queen denied it, insisting that she wouldn't mix work with pleasure and would remain focused on her duties. They enjoyed their time together. But as the clock struck past 11 p.m., Dawn hadn't returned. Concerned, Queen tried calling him, but his phone wasn't reachable. Feeling uneasy, she called Angela to report the situation. Shortly after, Dawn arrived, and Queen began to nag out of worry. Dawn held her romantically, kissed her to calm her nerves, and they ended up making love that night. The next morning, while Dawn was on a call with Raymond, Queen overheard him making hurtful comments about her. He referred to her as a harmless prostitute just trying to make ends meet, among other disparaging remarks. Dawn ended the call unaware that Queen had overheard him. Feeling hurt, she quietly left the room. Meanwhile, Dawn's girlfriend, Michelle, visited Raymond at the office to collect some documents for Dawn's mother. She used Raymond's phone with his permission to access some information and then left. Later, Dawn went to Queen to express his care, but she ignored him, confronting him about the hurtful words she overheard. Dawn apologized and explained that he didn't mean it that way, but Queen didn't respond and walked away. Soon after, Dawn received confirmation of a contract approval. Excited, he called Raymond to share the good news and also informed Queen. He offered to take her out to celebrate, but Queen turned him down, congratulated him, and locked herself in her room. Dawn tried to get her to open the door, but she refused. On another day, Michelle arrived at Dawn's place unexpectedly and began hurling insults at Queen. The situation escalated into a physical altercation. Dawn came in just in time to separate them, and despite Michelle's protests, asked her to leave. Even though she had traveled all the way from Abuja, Dawn made it clear that her presence wasn't welcome. Frustrated, Michelle called Dawn's mother to report the incident. In the privacy of their room, Queen began packing her belongings, insisting that Dawn terminate their contract since he no longer needed her. However, Don reassured her that he wanted her around and promised that his family wouldn't be a threat. He called Raymond to confirm if he had given Michelle his address, which he denied. Shortly after, Don's mother called to discuss Michelle's complaint. Don firmly told his mother that he had never been interested in Michelle and that the relationship had been her idea all along. His mother ended the call, stating they would discuss it further upon his return. The next day, while Queen informed Don that lunch was ready, he took the opportunity to apologize again, as he would be traveling the following day. Queen responded by saying they would go their separate ways after his departure. Later, she returned the clothes he had bought for her, suggesting he give them to Michelle. Don, however, declared that he had ended things with Michelle because he loved Queen for who she was. He assured her he was willing to fight for their relationship, even against his family. Queen, surprised by his commitment, insisted it wasn't worth the fight and predicted he would forget about her once he returned to his life. Though Don tried to prove her wrong by kissing her, she wished him goodbye and left. The next day, as Don prepared to leave, Queen called Angela to share her feelings. Angela, however, wasn't much help and Queen ended the call. Meanwhile, Don informed his mother about his travel plans. Queen later found a letter from Don, which prompted her to look for him, but he had already left. A few days later, as Angela and Queen shared a meal, Angela noticed how much Queen missed Don and encouraged her to pick up his calls. Queen refused, believing he had moved on. Angela joked that if she were in Queen's shoes, she would happily be his side chick for life. Pretending to choke on her food, Angela tricked Queen into leaving the room, quickly saved Don's number, and resumed her meal. At Don's office, Michelle attempted to reconcile with him. Don, however, made it clear that he loved Queen and that his relationship with Michelle had been forced from the start. He told Michelle they could remain friends, but nothing more. Disappointed, Michelle left. Later, Don met with his mother, who praised his independence and how he had handled his responsibilities. She assured him that any decision about his personal life was his to make, as he was old enough to choose his path. Don was pleasantly surprised by her support and thanked her. One day, Don surprised Queen by visiting her. When she asked how he found her, he joked that he needed a mechanic to fix his heart. He expressed how much he missed her and revealed that he had returned to Lagos to establish a branch of his business. Don told Queen he wanted her by his side, not as an escort, but as his partner. Moved by his sincerity, Queen gave him a chance, and they professed their love for each other, enjoying a heartfelt reunion. This story teaches us to pursue what we love with determination. It also reminds us that some people may find themselves in difficult situations out of necessity and should not be judged harshly. Lastly, it highlights the transformative power of love and redemption. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more updates on captivating Nigerian movies.